I'm going to do another sit-down conversation with you, which hopefully none of these questions have been answered by now, because some of these questions could be answered by now. But we're going to be going over 10 questions that I have, or 10 things I'm looking forward to for Detroit Lions training camp. Now, Veterans Report Saturday, you're probably seeing this video on Sunday or Monday, so that's why I'm saying hopefully none of these questions or things that I'm looking forward to have been answered already. But we'll go ahead and get into it because this video will be a little bit longer. So we'll go ahead and start off. You see the first one on the thumbnail. Will Hen Hooker prove he can be quarterback 2? That is my first thing I'm looking forward to. You signed Kyle Allen this offseason to compete with Hooker for the backup quarterback job. From what I heard throughout OTAs, Hendon Hooker looked better than Kyle Allen, but Hendon Hooker did not look any better from what he did last year in the preseason. I did not think Hendon Hooker looked bad in the preseason, but I also didn't think he looked great. And Kyle Allen, if he's beating out Kyle Allen, obviously Hendon Hooker will win the quarterback 2 job. But you also never know, the Lions could do something like what they did in the 2023 NFL season, where they end up keeping David Blau, cutting Tim Boyle, and end up signing another quarterback that got cut during cut downs, and end up signing that guy to be their backup quarterback, and then they end up cutting Hendon Hooker. They could do something like that. So I'm very curious to see if Hendon Hooker can prove he can be quarterback 2, and obviously this is for preseason as well, if Hendon Hooker can be quarterback 2. But that is one of the big ones I'm looking forward to, because Hendon Hooker, man, when he was at Tennessee, he was a baller. He should have been a first-round pick that year if it wasn't for that injury. And if he would have played that full season before he got hurt, I think there's a really good shot he could have been like a top 10, top 15 pick. I really, really do believe it. Hendon Hooker has a very good arm. He can take off. In my opinion, Hendon Hooker, I really don't want to say it, but I really, really do believe Hendon Hooker, if he lives up to his full potential, could be at worst a Kyler Murray. At worst, a Kyler Murray is what Hendon Hooker reminds me of. And, of course, Hendon Hooker has a better arm. I'm trying to think of a better comparison. That's too much. I'm trying to think of a good comparison for Hendon Hooker. Geno Smith, maybe. I think Geno Smith is probably a good option for Hen Hooker. Obviously, Hooker can take off a little bit more than Geno, but I think at their full potential, Hen Hooker could be like a Geno Smith. So it's just the question is, can he prove that he can win the quarterback 2 job, and can he prove that he can be more than a quarterback 2 as well? So that's what it comes down to. My second question here now, you also see on the thumbnail, get the first 2 questions on the thumbnail out of the way. Will Ennis Rakestraw prove that he can be a starter if needed? Now, I think he very well can be, according to Dan Campbell, and from what highlights we have been seeing. Ennis Rakestraw has been playing very well this OTAs in this offseason. He's been playing primarily on the outside. He has not been playing nickel. We drafted him initially as a nickel. That's primarily what he played at Mizzou, but it looks like he's going to be playing outside cornerback for the Lions, with Amik and potentially Reed and Branch playing the slot. Avante Maddox as well playing the slot. So it looks like Rakestraw will be on the outside. Now, I highly doubt he will be a starter to start the season, but I think for sure, if anybody goes down during training camp, preseason, and Ennis Rakestraw has to come in and start, the Lions will be comfortable with that if he can prove that he can become a starter through training camp. And he did prove that through OTA, so the question is, can he carry it over to training camp? Now, my third question is, who will take the lead for the wide receiver 6 position? You realistically could have 5-6 guys competing for that wide receiver 6 position. You got Dominic Lovett, you drafted in the 7th round this year out of Georgia. Jacoby Keeney-James, my guy from UMass. Jackson Meeks, everybody's high on him. I'm high on him as well as Zadarius Smith, I believe, nephew from Syracuse. Big body wide receiver. Tom Kennedy, always been Mr. Reliable / practice squad wide receiver who can always come in and step in for an injury if needed. And he's been here the longest out of all these guys. Malik Taylor, you just signed this offseason and during rookie minicamp tryouts. And Ronnie Bell, who you signed to a futures contract at the end of this season to start the offseason this year. Former 7th round pick by the San Francisco 49ers. So I'm very curious who will take the wide receiver 6 position lead heading into the preseason. My number 4 question is, can Sione Vaki take a step forward at running back? He looked very good during the preseason last year. He looked a little bit raw, but he still looked pretty good for the most part. He did take a couple of carries during the regular season. Those carries did not look good. But again, so in the regular season, has still not had much experience at all at the running back position. So I'm very curious what step forward he takes now heading into his sophomore season now at the running back position at the NFL. My fifth question is, will Broderick Martin prove enough to make the practice squad? That is my fifth question. We know he's not making the 53-man roster. The question is, does he show enough to make the practice squad? He's going to have to show a lot. That's all I'm going to say. My sixth question is, can Avante Maddox prove enough to be a reliable safety 3 and be a good Fatu Melifonwu replacement? It's going to take a lot. I really did like Fatu Melifonwu. I think he was arguably our biggest free agent, biggest player who's going to be a free agent this past offseason. And we ended up losing him for a really cheap deal. So it's going to take a lot, in my opinion, for Avante Maddox to be enough to replace Fatu Melifonwu. Obviously, Fatu Melifonwu could never stay healthy. I mean, neither could Avante Maddox. Avante Maddox has not been particularly healthy throughout his career, been more healthy than Melifonwu, but I think at their full potential, Fatu Melifonwu can be a very good starting safety, one of the better starting safeties in the NFL if he can stay healthy. While Avante Maddox I can see as like a good safety 3 at best. Do like Avante Maddox, but I'm just curious if he can prove enough to be a reliable safety 3 because this is his first season at safety in his NFL career. He's moved the safety a couple times in his NFL career, but he's not been a full-time safety at all in his NFL career from what I've known. So I'm very curious if he can be good enough to be a safety 3 for us. My seventh question is obviously, like everybody's question, who will take the lead at the center and guard positions? Will it be Glasgow? Will it be Ratledge? Or will it be somebody else like Dan Campbell mentioned, like Kingsley Ekukon? Who knows? And my eighth question is, will there be a tight end who proves enough to become the number 3 tight end? Can it be Kenny Yeboah? Can it be Shane Zylstra, who's been in Detroit now for 3-4 plus years now? Or will it be a UDFA tight end, Luke Deal, or tight end / fullback Zach Horton? Now, I really like Zach Horton. I think Zach Horton will make the practice squad just because the Lions and Johnny Morton do love the fullback position, and Zach Horton can play fullback. But I think it's just going to come down to realistically who wins that. I think Luke Deal has the least chance to win that job just because he proved the least in college. But Shane Zylstra won the job last year as the tight end 3. Parker Hess won the tight end 3 job last year heading into the season, and Shane Zylstra ended up capturing the tight end 3 spot about halfway through last year, and he ended the year as a tight end 3. So the question is, can he keep that tight end 3 role or not, or will somebody else take it? Or will nobody take it? Again, on my 53-man roster prediction, go check it out. I only had us keeping 2 tight ends on the 53-man roster. And go check out who my practice squad tight ends were, but I only had 2 making the 53-man roster, so could that be the case? My ninth question is, how will the new offensive coordinator, John Morton, and defensive coordinator, Kelvin Shepard, look on their respective sides? I think Kelvin Shepard's going to be very good. I think Kelvin Shepard could arguably be better than Aaron Glenn. I'm a big Kelvin Shepard guy. I think he's a great motivator, great coach, great locker room guy. I think he could be very well better than Kelvin Shepard. I think he's going to be smarter when it comes to blitzes as well. I did not like how Aaron Glenn blitzed most of the time. I did like Aaron Glenn how he blitzed with safeties, but when it came to what players he added at the rushing the passer on certain plays did not make sense to me. So I think Kelvin Shepard will be better at that. Now, John Morton, I don't know. John Morton's going to be very curious. Obviously, we won't really know how the offense is going to look until preseason and the regular season. But training camp, you will get a look at it. And my final question, can Marcus Davenport make it through training camp? That was my final question. I don't know. I think there's probably a good 76% shot Marcus Davenport don't make it through training camp. But that was my final question. Do you have another question that I missed? There's a lot of things I'm looking forward to. I think I skipped a question. Or I didn't write it down. I guess I didn't write it down, but the other question I had that I forgot to put on there was, if obviously everybody has this wants this question wants it answered, is what's going on with Alex Anzalone? Is he going to report? Is he holding out for a contract? I personally don't think he's holding out for a contract. He never shows up to OTAs, so I do think he will report Saturday, probably when you're seeing this, to training camp, but you never know. So one probably go lines. Do you guys have any questions that you want me to answer, or any questions that you want to figure out about training camp. Any questions that I missed, leave your thoughts in the comments down below. And my big one there is, can Marcus Davenport make it through training camp? That's the big one for me right there.